Hello, thank you for joining me. I wanted to get one of the few bits of colour left into this video. The weather has killed off flowers, and being in bed with my chest and throat, I wasn't able to water the tubs, so many of them have unfortunately withered and died, and I hate that, but I just wasn't able to do it. So, what am I going to talk about? Well, first of all, apologise for this. It's my elegant ladylike look. Yes, if you believe that, you'll believe anything. I want to talk about things that become ingrained, things that become a part of us. And for many, when we retire, certainly for a friend and myself who regularly communicate about this, we were so used to the demands of working long hours, of being ruled by diaries and timetables, that for ages after we retired, we found it very hard not to be constantly like the little toy monkey that you used to wind up and it'd sit there bashing away at a drum. I used to think that I should be busy drum bashing all the time. And it did take a long time to get rid of that, especially sitting and doing not a lot, sitting and doing crafting even, though I am better at that now than I used to be. But some of those feelings, well, one for me certainly includes guilt, and I suppose that feeling of not being able to sit and do anything, do nothing, that could be guilt based as it is. But growing up, my parents were naturally protective of me. I was an only child. And yes, I did do things that they didn't know about, but some things that they said no, then I wouldn't break what they had told me. And one of those was to go along to concerts at a place called the Ardwick Apollo. And my parents used to say, it's not a nice area. You're not going there. So that meant that I didn't get to see the Beatles when they came there, and I didn't get to see some of my favourite groups when they came. But shortly after, they allowed me to start going to music clubs in Manchester, which was great. But it always stuck in my mind that I was never allowed to go to the Apollo in Ardwick. When I was in my 50s, a friend said, oh, so-and-so's coming to the Apollo, shall we go? Okay, yeah, let's go. So in fact, there were 3 of us, and trying to find the place proved difficult. We hadn't got sat-nav, and we stopped and asked 3 people, and unfortunately none of them spoke English, so we made it eventually. But 2 of us were put out, and the other said, right, I'm going to park, I'll see you in there. We said, no, we are waiting here for you. So we did that, and all was well. But even though I was 50, and even though both of my parents, well, Mum especially, were long time passed away, I still felt guilty. The concert was great and I thoroughly enjoyed it, but underneath there was that bubbling feeling of, do you know, your mum wouldn't have liked this. And that's ridiculous. I was a grown adult. Why? Why, oh why was that message from childhood still lingering? And I've just seen in the camera on the tree here there's beware of the gardener sign, and it seems to have lost one of its screws. A bit like me, I think I got a screw loose somewhere, and it's gone to portrait rather than landscape. Another tiny task for later. But those feelings, is it because when we are young, we used to listen to what our parents said, we used to respect what they said, obviously didn't always agree with what they said, especially as teenagers, would usually come before the complaint about what you've been told you couldn't do or what you've been told you had to do. But I wonder if that's still the way these days. Certainly I found when teaching, I retired 18 years ago, and even then you as an adult would be challenged by a pupil, and not in a, oh, could you help me with this way, but a very assertive manner that I would never have dreamed of speaking to any adult like that, let alone a teacher, because I used to respect them just as I respected my parents. I don't believe that respect is something that everybody is due. I feel that respect has to be earned, even respect for somebody who is in a high position. I can respect that position as Prime Minister, President, whatever, but not necessarily the person who is holding that office. That might be their title, but if they don't follow what is expected of that position, if they feel that they're going to do their own thing, then I'm afraid I can't respect that, especially if whatever they choose to do isn't for the good of the rest, but is for the good of themselves. I've always felt that way. I suppose it's down to not liking selfish people. But I've diverted and deviated. But again, I suppose that's something that's ingrained in me, the dislike of selfish people. I didn't like to play with friends who always had to have their game, always had to do it their way. They were always right. I don't say I'm always right, and I certainly wasn't always right then. But I did feel that as friends we were equals, and so my opinion should be valued as much as theirs. And that has continued ingrained in me, even though I'm way, way beyond childhood years. Maybe it's that little inner child in me gives me a prod in the ribs and says, no, don't, remember. They're your core values. And those core values remain. On that note, I shall endeavour to get up. I'm sort of sitting on my foot, which is not very slowly going to sleep, and I'm on the paving stones, so it's not really very comfortable. Thank you for joining me. Take care and have a think about what you have carried through, what has been ingrained with you from your childhood days, and what they have formed by way of your core values. Are you still adding to them, or do you just have those long set ones? Bye for now. Thank you so much for joining me. I shall switch off the camera before I very inelegantly endeavour to get up. Thank you. Bye for now. Bye.